All right, we coming right back. And that's like we said, we just using that coronavirus as something to deal with. As something to deal with. And using that coronavirus as something to deal with. And I want to tell Shalom King Jonathan, that was a blessing right there to hear that your mother was watching. And so, and I was mindful of those things right there because what we were dealing with is like what we were saying is like, even when Abraham was a 7-year-old kid and the Most High Spirit was on him, then he would start asking his father all sorts of different things about God, and it wasn't lining up. So I was saying to myself is that, and this is one of the areas that we're gonna have to be mindful in, because even though our fathers and our mothers and our grandfathers and our grandmothers, even though they fed us these things, they themselves didn't know. So it was more of operating out of not knowing. I had the firmest beliefs that if our parents knew better, they would have done better. Nevertheless, the Most High still gave them the things that they would need to be able to preserve the next generation. And so, even in our generation, there are many people that are not going to hear these messages. There are many people that are not going to have that understanding. Does that mean that the Most High is just going to cast them off? No, I don't believe that the Most High will cast them off, because it's a part of the process of restoring Adam's seed back to what they was. And there was a period of time for that process to come to completion or come to fruition. And so all of the generations before us were part of the process. But with each generation, we grow closer and closer to the things that God wants us to know. We go closer and closer as we start teaching our, right, like now. My children they grown, okay? Now I can start teaching my children some of these things, but when my children start teaching their children, and then their children come up without ever being a partaker of these things, that will be a generation that have become closer to the Most High. They will be able to move in the Most High's power, and they will see things differently because of what they've been taught. So it's like a reversal. But the problem with that is, how do you get the brothers and sisters in this generation to now start propelling those things forward to the next generation, so that the next generation of children can come up, greater? And I say to myself, it's a form of insanity when everybody is running around dealing with the coronavirus. Well, let me show you something. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. I want to show you something. Let's show you this right here. As soon as I find it, I gotta look through my phone and find it. Okay, let's look. 2002, West Nile virus, animal. 2003, SARS virus, animal. 2005, bird flu, animal. 2006, E. coli, animal. 2009, swine flu. 2014, Ebola. 2016, Zika. 2020, Corona. All of these are viruses that come into the world and start killing people. Now, these particular viruses, when you start talking about a pandemic, you're talking about something that has the capacity to spread all over the world. You think it's going to miss your religious construct? You think it's going to miss the church people or people that say they believe in Jesus? You think it's going to miss the Israelites? You think it's going to miss the Muslim? Now, when you're talking about a worldwide pandemic, you're talking about everybody that have life in their body, everybody that's on the face of the earth. And see, everybody that's on the face of the earth is the seed of Adam. We are Adam's children before any religious construct. That's why I tell brothers and sisters all the time, you can't get hung up in no fact, oh, I'm a Christian, oh, I'm an Israelite, oh, I'm a Muslim. That's complete foolishness. Because when we start dealing with God, we're dealing with mankind. That's why the restoration of Adam began with Abraham, and he told Abraham, in thee, in thy seed, shall all the people on the earth come back to know me. Shall all the people. Why? Because all of the people that's born in this world come by way of the seed of Adam. So Abraham received the promise, and then his children would now become the ones that would spread the promise. But the promise that was made to Abraham didn't have anything to do with Abraham. It had everything to do with Adam's restoration. And through 5,500 years of restoration, the process began with Abraham as Abraham's seed and offspring came into the earth. And then with Israel being born, all of those things were part of the process. And then Israel reaching the Christian, and then all of the religious construct, all of the religious ideologies now blanketing the world to bring us back to one place, to undo the sin that Adam committed when he was in the garden. And you think it stopped. You see, the Messiah himself was part of the process, because the Messiah was going to be the one that God would send into the world to restore Adam. That's part of the process. But if you won't hear that prophet who God will raise up at a future time, the soul of that man shall be completely cut off. Now, how can you hear the prophet when he declares that for this end I came to put an end to all blood sacrifices and the eating of flesh, of beasts and of birds and of the things that have life in them? If the Messiah declared that that's what he came to do, and you won't hear him, you won't hear him, but you talking about Jesus is Lord. You won't hear him, but you talking about Yeshua is the Most High's Son. You won't hear him, but you talking about Jesus was the sinless prophet. Now, he said, if you don't hear, that soul shall be cut off from his people. So you can live whatever type of life you want to try to live and try to, put some unwarranted righteousness. Hey, ain't no righteousness in me. I don't even pretend about it. Only good thing in me is what the Spirit do where this word is concerned. Soon as we put these books down and stop teaching this word, we go into straight all-out battle, all-out warfare, because the devil going to attack the life of the person that's trying to serve the Most High in a far greater way. I don't get no peace with my life. I could wake up crying and dropping tears every day, apologizing for the failure of my flesh and the inability to live righteously as my heart, my spirit man desires to do it. But because of the failure of my father, it's impossible to do. You got all these jokers out here that's trying to act like they have arrived at the same spot, but we still committing the sin of our father Adam. You go to try to tell somebody. You try to tell somebody your own children don't listen to you. Talking about heartbreak. You're talking about having your heart broke. You try to tell them about having your heart broke when you got your own children that won't hear you. Some of us got husbands, got wives, got siblings. They won't hear you. Oh, here he come again. He on some foreign stuff. Oh, he come with that. See, you know because it's in your spirit. Talking about Jesus wept. His heart was broken. Talking about weeping over your brothers and over your sisters. When you pour these things out that the Most High give you, you see them clearly. You're talking about weeping that you're going to do a good deed for somebody and they slander you. Soon as you turn your back, they talking about you. They laughing about you. You're talking about breaking a broken heart. That's what it is. We're talking about a broken heart when you can see it happening, see the whole world. That's why Jacob is going into trouble. That's why the whole world is going up under the jurisdiction of the lawless one, of the man of sin, because you're telling people what thus said the Lord, and they don't want to hear it. They want to have their own way. They want to have their own way. And everybody think that they're going to be in God's kingdom. When the Bible say every now and then a straggler. Every now and then a straggler. Either God's a liar or something is wrong. Jesus said it. Many gonna come to me in the last days saying, Lord, Lord. Those that call him Lord genuinely believe that he is the Lord of their life. But he gonna say, depart from me, ye that work iniquity, ye that sin against my Father, ye that are lawbreakers, ye that are rule breakers, ye that do not, that despise, you despise sin, the restoration of the seed of Adam's children. He said, depart from me. Christian, get away from me. Christian, get away from me. Preacher, pastor, apostle, bishop, get the hell away from me. Because you have misled my people down a road to destruction just so you can have what you call a so-called good life in this world that's coming right before your eyes. Israelite, get the hell away from me while you're misleading my people into all of these feast days and Passovers and so-called holy days where you'll teach them to slay my creation and do what their father Adam did. Get away from me. He said, yeah, I know you're the seed of Abraham. I know you're Israel, but you're going to come. Many shall come from the east and the west, and shall sit down with Abraham, shall sit down with Isaac, shall sit down with Jacob. But the children of the kingdom, the so-called chosen Israelites, are going into outer darkness where they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth because they didn't want to go forward, but they kept going backward, and they wanted to mimic their forefathers as they put long robes on and meat tree hats on. They wanted to mimic their forefathers as they themselves took physical lambs and hung upside down and slit their throats and watched all the blood drain out. They went backwards when they should have been looking forward. When the Messiah came to abolish the law of sacrifice, they should have been going forward, but they went backwards. And you look right now at how many of our brothers out here are going backwards, trying to mimic what they dead ancestors, what they dead wicked ancestors done. Who the evidence is that they remain in captivity their whole life. And here I got some for our Israelite brothers too on today. And just because I talk about my Israelite brothers don't mean that I don't identify with the fact that I'm Israel. But when I really start looking closely, I said, you know, the Spirit said, hey boy, I know we found out you Israel, but don't get beside yourself like the rest of these jokers. You really ain't got nothing to gloat about. When you look at the life that the Israelites have led, you ain't got nothing to gloat about. You've been amongst the most wicked people on the planet of the earth. You've been amongst the most disobedient, the most falsified, the most raggedy living people among the planet. So you be careful. Yeah, you can identify yourself with being an Israelite, but that ain't nothing to gloat about. That ain't nothing to go out there and tell the world about. That's like you coming out the gutter, out of the trash can, and then you want to stand up with garbage hanging all up of you, talking about what a chosen people you are. Chosen for what? Chosen to be disobedient, chosen to be rebellious, chosen to be envious, murderous. What we chosen for? Now, I got something for you. Because what we about to bring forth today, this right here, it ought to, you know what, somebody's about to get slapped. Let's go. Let's go. Let's check it out. Because what we doing is these things dealing with Adam have to be reversed. They have to be reversed. They have to be reversed. Let's go here right quick. Let's go here with the word of prophecy that the Most High gave Adam. I'm trying my best not to get excited, but I just can't help it. And imagine that the reason why I get excited is because it's in my heart. And I generally mean people well. I don't get no benefit out of causing people to stumble. And I don't get no benefit out of teaching somebody wrong. I don't get no benefit out of those things. But I know that I get a benefit for myself when one person can say, hey, you know what? That word is right. It's right there the whole time. That's God's word. Man, thank you Most High for brother such and such to help me see that. See, I get joy out of that. But I don't get no benefit out of causing people to stumble. That's why I don't tolerate foolishness, even as it relates to people wanting to disagree. Because you come to try to disagree with me, is to say to me, you understand what I'm saying, that I am on a deliberate attempt to deceive somebody or entrap somebody or ensnare somebody into something. But that's not my motivation. So sometimes I get excited because the way I feel. That's how God wired me. I'm wired like that. You know what I mean? Some brothers can just sit back and be calm and teach a lesson. And I admire that. But I don't have it. And so let's go here. Let's deal with the prophecy first. Let's deal with the prophecy. And I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for understanding, for you brothers and sisters, for for encouraging me. And helping me to understand that it's all right to be me. It's all right to be excited. It's all right that you holler. I had people come on there and tell me, shut up. Why you doing all that hollering and screaming and all of that type of stuff? Nigga, go play in the street. Get out of here. You ain't no, you see, I didn't hear it all. You know what I mean? But that encouragement is good because it helped me to understand that, you know what, there are some people out there that accept me and accept what God had given me just like he gave it to me, and they don't want to see it change, and those are things like when I was in Christianity, every time you go to be a part of something, people always want to change who you are. Why you want to change me? Why you want to make me like you? Why you want to stop me from being able to preach my message because I don't operate like you? Why you want to withhold from me everything that you give everybody else an opportunity to do? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me like God made me to be? What's wrong with me? To the point to where you can't accept me for who I am. Yeah, so that's what it is. I'm really in my feelings this morning because I've been in a fist fight with the devil, and he seemed like he been kicking my butt. But every time he kicked my butt, gives me a reason to crawl out of the bed in the morning and bring forth God's word in a way that somebody is going to be blessed by it. You might beat me, devil. You might beat me. I might die tomorrow. But for every ounce of breath that I got left in my life, I will wake up every day. You might beat me tomorrow, but the next day I will wake up relentless with a relentless spirit that if I could just cause one brother or sister not to fall for the same battle that I just lost, then so be it. And that's how it's going to be done. So let's go. The Bible say, blessed are they that mourn, that do mourn. They shall be comforted. So don't worry about the watery eyes and the tone in the voice. I'm in a place of mourning right now. I'm mourning over my own condition, over my own sinful condition, over my own inability to climb over the hurdles and the obstacles that I'm facing in my own life. I'm in mourning right now because of the things that I said I wasn't going to do no more, only to find myself right back in the hog pen of life, just like the dog that returns to his vomit I find myself returning to my same old foolishness. But it's okay. I'm in mourning. And I know that I'm not by myself. But every time I feel like I've been defeated by that unseen enemy who God ain't gave me the power to conquer, because sometimes God's spirit will leave you and it'll leave you right there with nothing but your defeated flesh, and it ain't no match for the enemy. And when God take his spirit away and then turn you over to the devil like he did Job, ain't nothing you can do about it. But you'll stand there and say like Job, though he slay me, yet will I continue to trust him. His spirit will return to me sooner or later. And when it do, devil, you in trouble. And today, devil, you are in trouble, because there's about to be a word that's released in this social media, in this worldwide platform, that some people are going to be risen up today. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. That's my proclamation before the kingdom of darkness and before all the brothers and sisters on social media. That's my proclamation. That's my proclamation. I'm sick of people running around here like they don't have no problem, like they don't have no fight to fight. Them are the ones that's hiding in the dark. Them are the ones that Ezekiel was talking about when God said, come here, Ezekiel, you want to see something? Let me show you what the wicked ones are doing. Let me show you what the priests are doing. Let me show you what the preachers are doing. Let me show you what the bishops are doing. Let me show you what the Kohens and the Morays are doing in the dark when they close the door and ain't nobody looking. Let me show you what they're doing while they committing adultery. Look again and I'll show you one with a crack pipe up in his mouth. Look again and I'll show you one over there looking at porn, whacking himself up. Look again and I'll show you one plotting how he can cause his brother to stumble. And then they'll come out of that dark room and walk before people like they don't have no struggles. Well, it ain't over here, baby. It ain't over here. It's a struggle every single day. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 struggles. Sometimes it's 4, 5 of them. Sometimes there's so many struggles out there, you don't know how you're going to make it through. But we know that God's spirit will not be away from us forever. These messages are messages of encouragement, and we shoot for the jugular vein of the sin of our father Adam, because we want up. We want our eyesight back. We want our spirit back. We want our power back. I want the ability to see things for what they really are. I want to be able to do things that I only dreamed about doing. I want to be able to overcome the things that I ain't been able to overcome since I was a teenager. I want to do some things that I ain't been able to do. I want to see some power coming forth, that the minute you open up your mouth, people fall out, get slayed in the spirit, tears running down their face, thanking and praising the Most High. That's what I want for my own life. That's what I want for my brothers and sisters' life. That's what I want for the people of God's life. That's what I want for the lives of the people that ain't never even came in contact with a gospel message, don't know no Bible, don't go to nobody's church. That's what I want for the people, because that is the promise that God made to Abraham, based on the promise that he made to Adam, that Adam's seed would be restored. And this is where we're about to go. So, let's go. Let's see. Calm down, Meech. Give the Most High thanks for the power of the air. You see, that's God's righteousness right there. That's God's righteousness. That air that God put in the earth on day 1. That air God put in the earth from day 1 through day 6 that causes a man's life to be sustained. That's righteousness right there. That's righteousness. That's total obedience. That's what we're reaching for. That's what our Father once had. He had total obedience. He didn't even have to think about it. It was just automatic. That's what we're reaching for. These messages are not just to be talking. Let's go. Let's go. And God said unto Adam, this is the 3rd chapter of the 1st book of Adam and Eve. And God said unto Adam, I have ordained on this earth days and years, Adam, and thou and thy seed shall dwell and walk in it until the days and years are fulfilled, when I shall send the word that created thee. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the only begotten of the Father. He said, after the days and the years are fulfilled, I will send the Word that was made flesh. I will send that Word that created you. That Word that created Adam one day became flesh and dwelt among Adam's seed, that they may behold his glory, the glory of their father, the glory that their father Adam once had. The Word was coming to restore back to the seed of Adam. God said, I have ordained on this earth days and years, and thou and thy seed shall dwell and walk in it, until the days and the years are fulfilled, when I shall send the Word that created thee, and against which thou hast transgressed, the Word that made thee come out of the garden and raised thee when thou hast fallen. Yeah, the Word that will again save thee when 5 days and a half are fulfilled. But when Adam heard these things and these words from God of the great 5 days and a half, he did not understand the meaning of them. For Adam was thinking that there would be but 5.5 days, and then the world would be destroyed. And Adam wept and prayed, and God explained it to him. Then God, in his mercy for Adam, who was made after his own image and his similitude, explained to him that these were 5,500 years, and how one would then come and would save him and his seed. But God had before that made this covenant with our father Adam in the same terms ere he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree whereof Eve took the fruit and did give him. Now, the promise was to the one that was going to come. He was going to send the Word into the world so that the sons of Adam could behold his glory, and their minds could be reconstructed, and by his Spirit, their minds could be transmuted back into what Adam was originally intended to be in the beginning. That was the prophetic promise of the Messiah. But that prophetic promise of the Messiah was spoken with Adam. It didn't start with Abraham. So Israel ain't got nothing to glory about. That prophetic promise didn't start with Israel. So the Christian ain't got nothing to glory about. That prophetic promise didn't start with Abraham. So the Muslim ain't got nothing to glory about. That prophetic promise began with our father Adam. And unless you can understand that Adam's seed is those that have blanketed the whole world, there is no way possible that you can understand your purpose according to your religious ideologies. Now, so they begin the process. God calls Abraham. Abraham has Isaac. Isaac has Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons, which 12 sons spawned the 12 tribes, the nations of Israel. They were incubated in Egypt, and when they became a strong nation, God sent Moses to go and get the people out of Egypt. This is part of the process of restoration. But the people's minds have to be reconstructed. You know why? Because the Egyptians were Adam's seed, and they were up under Adam's sin, eating things that God never told them to eat because they had been completely disconnected from God. All of Adam's seed had been completely disconnected from God. So God had to choose a seed that never was to put in the earth. Henceforth, he put Israel in the earth through the loins of Abraham. But Israel's mind have to be reconstructed because they've been living according to their brothers, who was Adam's seed. And they were of the same sin that Adam was committing. And so Israel was of the same sin too. They had to be reconstructed. Their thinking and their thought process had to be reconstructed. They had to be taught about their father Adam and his transgression in order for their minds to be reconstructed. Nobody else was. So here we go. In the meantime, Moshe, that faithful and wise steward, perceived that the vice of sacrifice to idols had been deeply ingrained into the people from their association with the Egyptians, and that the root of this evil deed could not be extracted from them. So he allowed them to sacrifice, but he permitted it only to be done to the Most High, that by any means he might cut off one half of the deeply ingrained evil, leaving the other half to be corrected at a time in the future. He said, namely, concerning whom he said himself, a prophet will Yahweh, your Elohim, raise unto you, whom you will hear even as myself, according to all the things that he will say to you. And whosoever will not hear that prophet, his spirit will be cut off from amongst his people. That prophet that Moses is talking about is the same word of God that created Adam. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. I will send my word, Adam, after the days and the years are complete. I will send the same word that created you. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and all things were made by him. And without the Word was not anything made that was made. Here, I will send the word that created you, Adam, after your time is complete. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. In him was life, and the life would become the light that dwelt in men. In him was the life. In him was the life that Adam once had when he was classified as the children of light. In him was life, the life that Adam had before his eyes were darkened. In him was life, and that life would become the same light in men that burned in our father Adam before he ever left the garden. Do you really appreciate what the Word came to do? Can you really comprehend what the scriptures say? I know we got all kind of Bible readers and Bible scholars and theology school and cemetery school. I know we got all would-be, but do you really comprehend what the scriptures is saying? In him was the same light that God had put in Adam because he had created Adam. In him was life. He was the Word that God said, I will send the Word that created you, Adam, after you go through these completion of days, and in him the Word shall bring the same light that was blew into your nostrils on the day that we got together and said, let us create man in our own image and in our own likeness. I will send the word that created you, Adam, and he will bring the life. In him is life, and the life will become the light that reverses the process of your transgression against me. The light would be what causes your seed to be restored back to where they were supposed to be. Do you really understand what this Bible is leading us to? Do you really understand what the Spirit is leading us to? Don't no man have the ability to comprehend the mind of God except the Spirit give the wisdom to understand. In him was life, and the life became the light that would burn in men. When you really comprehend what's being said, there will be a light that burns in you that just causes people to be drawn from you. And they don't even have to know anything about the Bible. They can be drawn from the world. They can be drawn from the gutter. They can be drawn from the nightclub. Or they can even be drawn from the religious constructs. But they don't understand what it is. In him was life. And the life became the light that will be dwelling in men. Don't worry, Adam. I love you, Adam. After you complete these number of years, because of your transgression, I will send the same word that created you. And he will bring the same life that we blew into your nostrils when you became a living soul. He said, don't worry, Adam. That life, that word was made flesh. And we beheld his glory, the only begotten of the Father. We beheld the only image that we had ever knew of our father Adam and what he was before his failure. We beheld his glory, what our father Adam looked like when he was created in the likenesses and similitude of the Most High. We beheld that as that word entered into our place. This is who Moses is prophesying about. There was another prophet that's coming at a distant time. He said, I know that Israel is part of the process, but when I went to get Israel, Israel was up under the same sin of the fallen father Adam was. They were partakers of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they were committing evil acts against all of the things that you said were good. He said, and it was not for me, because I am a mortal man, but it was not for me to be able to change the heart of people. He says, so I could not extract this thing out of him, because it is not those things that goes into a man's mouth that defile him, but it is those things that come out of his mouth that defile him. For everything that comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart. He said, I could not change their heart, because their heart had to be wicked in order to put the things in their mouth. And that's why I tell people, when you misunderstand the scripture, you don't know how to use it. Many people try to use that scripture to justify what goes in their mouth. But what they don't understand is that it's born in the heart. Before you ever pick the thing up, in your heart you know it's against God. In your heart, you know it's against God. You like to give thanks to the Most High. All praise, honor, glory, thanks to the Most High for our elders. What is my elders? Elder Emmanuel, who's dealing with me with kid skin gloves on, even though a whole social media realm is calling me elder. Ultimately, he called me elder too, but ultimately, he is the elder that dealt with me with kin skit gloves on years ago to tell me, well, elder, we gotta put the flesh and blood down, and I didn't have no comprehension as to where he was going or what his understanding was. But I knew that he was talking about the eating of meat. Had no idea that I would end up right here. But there were those that have walked before us that have greater understandings. Just like I walk before some people and have a greater understanding. But that is where my mind started to evolve. Right there. And I never thought. And I thought about it like anybody else. Well, what they got to do with anything, man? It was just some chicken wings, just some steak, and I had no idea. Until Elder Pat come right behind him a year later. And we talking, and we talking about the spirit. And he's talking about, I want to challenge you to a fast, Elder. I said, well, okay. Well, I want you to try and go 40 days without eating flesh and blood. And while we're sitting there talking, I was sitting there eating me a steak, dipping it in A1 sauce. And he said, well, I said, well, I'll try it. He said, well, if you fail, don't be too hard on yourself, you know. He said, but it's not so much as is what you're going to do that I want you to see. I want you to see what's going to happen to you. You see, because some things happened to me just like Elder Pat said they will happen. He said, because you've never understood free will. He said, you've never understood free will, but you're going to learn free will through this 40-day fast. He said, because after about 2 weeks, you're going to start hearing voices that you never heard before. After about 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start seeing things that you never seen before. And what it is your spirit man coming to life because your body is no longer contaminated with corruptible things where the Most High is concerned. And in 2 weeks, just as sure as he said it, I understood free will. He said, because those voices are going to come to bring you back to what you've been used to. Your body is going to be going through withdrawals and your taste buds are going to be craving and you're trying to do this thing to please the Father. He said, but all of those things are going to be coming against you, trying to bring you back, and you will hear those voices crystal clear. He said, but at the same time, you will hear the Spirit's voice. And he said, it's at that moment in time that you have the opportunity to exercise your right of free will. And man, when I got there, I was like, the only thing I could say is, like the old preachers, good God Almighty. It happened like that. And so I got through the 40 days. And man, like anybody else, as soon as the 40 days was over, I broke my neck to get me some fried chicken wings and French fries. I broke my neck to Golden Corral, held my appetite back so I could go to Golden Corral and just didn't want nothing but the steak and the rice. And I gorged myself. And man, if you're going to tell me that I couldn't feel the difference in my body, it was worse than it had ever been. And I came to understand that everything that I was experiencing up there while I was eating flesh and blood, I didn't know that it was the flesh and blood that was causing me to feel like that until I stopped for them 40 days. And when I went back and my body was feeling so good, it was functioning so natural, I could hear my body say things to me like, don't go too far from this house, because you're going to have to use the bathroom. I can hear my body talking to me. You see? And man, when I went back to that, I said, man, you mean to tell me that this stuff I'm doing, this was the cause of it the whole time? This was the cause of it? That was the bloating was the cause of it. The constipation, this was the cause of it. The hemorrhoids, this was the cause of it. The upset stomach, the indigestion. You mean to tell me that this was the cause? This was the reason why I was feeling so uncomfortable from day to day? I didn't know. It was the flesh. I didn't know until we got challenged. But I'm just saying this to say what I'm saying. That's why you have to thank the Father for your elders. You have to thank the Father for your elders. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all this story. I don't even know if Elder Amoniel even understand that all of the videos that came after these events It's almost like it went from a flicker of a spark of a lighter to a full-fledged flame-throwing torch. My comprehension of the word is unlike anything that I had ever been previously exposed to. The way it can be broken down is unlike anything that I've ever been exposed to. It's not anything that has anything to do with me as much as it has to do with the promise that was made to our forefather, where it was coming, where it was dealing with restoration, our ability to see things for what they really are, crystal and clear. That's what light does. In him was light, life, and the life will become the light that was in men. And anytime you have light in you, you can see. You can see clearly. Now, I'm not saying that people that don't see or don't understand don't have no light. I'm not saying that. That means that we might just in a process of learning. So let's continue on with the process. Okay, now Moses then went to get the people. He noticed that the people have the sin of their father Adam because of their association with their brothers, who are also the seed of their father Adam, who have taught them the sin against God's creation and the eating of the flesh and blood, the partaking of things that God never commanded us to eat from. So Moses understands that this wickedness, this evil is born in their heart and he can't get it out. So he said, well, only thing I can do is, because it's born in their heart, the only thing I can do is deal with them from an external standpoint. I won't let them sacrifice to that wooden idol, that Egyptian god, or the golden calf. I will let them sacrifice, and I'll just put the Most High's name on it. He said, but I'll be leaving it, the other half. I'll be leaving the other half for a time in the future where one is going to come and completely change their heart where they won't do it anymore. He said, and those who won't hear that prophet, their heart won't change. And those whose heart won't change, their souls shall be cut off from their people. This is a stark warning to our Christian, our Israelite, our Islamic brothers. This is a stark warning. You say you believe Jesus, but you don't believe Jesus enough that your heart can be changed to the point to where you'll stop doing things that was against the Most High. When you look at the beginning of the book, you know what made Adam and Eve fall into sin. But you say that you love Jesus, but Jesus, you loving Jesus, ain't changing our heart to get us to stop committing the same transgression that our father Adam committed. With our Israelite brothers too. Because our Israelite brothers have a habit of trying to use the sacrifice of the priest as justification. But right here in the world, you got to deny what the scripture's saying. You don't listen. You don't listen to what your forefathers is saying. Your forefathers is telling you that God didn't tell them. See, the children of Israel, when they was in Egypt, they didn't know God. They didn't know nothing about God. They didn't know nothing about his purpose. They didn't know nothing about none of that. They didn't know him. So if they didn't know him, how could he be the one that told them to do it? They was doing it before they ever met God. They didn't meet God until Moses came. Moses was God's mouthpiece. Tell them I am that I am. Tell them who I am. Tell them that I am everything that I need to be to get them to the place that I want them to be. Tell them I am. Tell them that I am have sent me to you. They didn't know who God was. They seen God in Moses. When Moses was a mortal man, and Moses told God, I couldn't get it out of him. That same sin. So that was the whole purpose of the wilderness. The wilderness was to reconstruct the thought process of the children of Israel and get them conditioned for the purpose that they will have as part of the process of Adam's restoration. So, and we see over and over again. So when the word came, now we hear. So let's look. Moses prophesied about the word, but he's prophesying, and it'll be many more years. It'll be much more of the process before the word ever shows up. So let's see what he said. Now, He's going to allow the people to sacrifice. It says, in addition to these things, he also appointed a place which alone it should be lawful to them to sacrifice to Yahweh. And all this was arranged with this view, that when the fitting time should come, that they should learn by means of Yeshua that Yahweh desires mercy and not sacrifice, and they might see him who should teach them that the place chosen of Yahweh, in which it was suitable that victims should be offered to Yahweh in his wait a minute, gotta make sure, in his Hakama, and that on the other hand they might hear that this place, which seemed chosen for a time, often harassed as it had been chosen by hostile invasions and plunderers. Now Moses said, I couldn't get it out of them, so I permitted them to do it. He said, I even chose a specific place that they would do it, that they would learn that at the appointed time that the Messiah come. You understand what I'm saying? See, this is the whole ball of wax. Moses never wanted them to do them. He had to permit them to do it. So let's go read this again. He said, in addition to these things, he also appointed a place. Let me get these glasses. That's how I do that. I want to be able to see. Let me get these glasses and let me turn the light on. Oh, shucks. Yep. This gonna be good. And this really gonna be good for our Israelite brothers. They need to hear this. It says, in addition to these things, he also appointed a place in which alone it should be lawful for them to sacrifice to Yahweh. So the only reason why it became lawful is because he couldn't get the evil, the deeply ingrained evil out of them. So he had to permit them to do it so that they could be preserved. Okay, they had a purpose in this world, but their minds had to be reconstructed. So he said, it was going to be lawful for them to do it at this particular time. And all of this was arranged with this view, that when the fitting time would come and they should learn by means of Yeshua that Yahweh desires mercy and sacrifice. He had to permit them to do it for the sake of their preservation, that they would learn when the word came, when Yeshua came, when Jesus came, they would learn that he desires mercy and not sacrifice. They had to learn that lesson by putting the innocent one, the one who created it all. They had to learn that lesson by that one while they murdered him. That the Most High desires mercy. We should be to learn that lesson. Everybody talk about Jesus, but you don't understand the magnitude of what took place. Every time you think about his life and his goodness and how good he was to the animals, how good he was to the people, how good he was to the sinful, how good he was to everybody that was on the planet. When you start thinking about his life, it should make you weep to see how the world treated him. He said that this is why Moses permitted them to do these things, because he knew that this was part of the process. And once the Messiah came into the world, he had the capacity and the ability to change the hearts of men. Moses couldn't do that. So he said, and all of this was arranged with this view, that when the fitting time should come, and that they should learn by means of Yeshua that Yahweh desires mercy and not sacrifice, and that they might see him who should teach them that the place chosen, of Yahweh, which it was suitable that the victims should be offered to Yahweh in his Hakma, and that on the other hand they might hear that this place, which seemed chosen for a time, was often harassed as it had been by hostile invasions and plunderings, and was at last to be wholly destroyed. And in order to impress this upon them, even before the coming of Yeshua, who was to reject at once the sacrifice and the place, it was often plundered by enemies and burnt with fire, and the people carried into captivity among foreign tribes. See, most people don't even understand what's really being said. This place that Moses chose for them to sacrifice, God kept sending enemies against it to plunder it and to pull it down and to destroy it and burn it with fire, and then to carry the people off into captivity. All of the captivities of Israel was built on this thing right here, eating the Father's creation. Let me read it again for you. Let me read it again for our Israelite brothers that might not really heard what was just being said. It says, in his hokmah, that on the other hand, that they might hear that this place, which seemed chosen for a time to do animal sacrifice, was often harassed as it had been by hostile invasions and plunderings, was at last to be wholly destroyed. And in order to impress this upon them, even before the coming of Yeshua, who was to reject at once the sacrifice and the place, it was often plundered by enemies and burnt with fire, and the people carried into captivity among foreign tribes. That by these things they might be taught that a people who offer sacrifices are driven away and delivered up into the hands of their enemy. But they who do mercy and righteousness are without sacrifice, freed from captivity and restored to their native land. But it fell out that very few understood this. For the greater number, though they could perceive, observe these things, yet were held by the irrational opinion of the vulgar, for the right opinion with the liberty is exclusive right of a few. Now, see, many of the brothers and sisters, yeah, that's right, Elder Emmanuel. See, many of the brothers and sisters don't even understand that it was the sacrificing of the animals, it's killing of the animals that kept sending Israel into captivity. Kept sending them into captivity. Kept sending them. Every time they got out of captivity, they go right back to the altar. Right back and start doing the same thing again. And guess what? God is sending them enemies again to plunder and burn it with fire and burn the temple and all of that with fire and then carry the people into captivity. I think I better read that again. It says, in his hokmah, that on the other hand, that they might hear that this place, which it seemed chosen for a time for animal sacrifices, often harassed as it had been by hostile invasions and plunderings, was at last to be wholly destroyed. And in order to impress this upon them, even before the coming of Yeshua, who was to reject at once the sacrifices and the place, it was often plundered by enemies and burnt with fire, and the people were carried away into captivity among foreign tribes, and then brought back when they betook themselves to the mercy of Yahweh, that by these things they might be taught that a people who offer sacrifices are driven away and delivered up into the hands of their enemies. But they who do mercy and righteousness are without sacrifice, freed from captivity and restored to their native land. You know why God was able to keep setting Israel free? Because they couldn't do no sacrifices. They weren't doing no sacrifices in the land of their captivity. And so without those sacrifices, it was easy for them to cry up to the Most High. And because they wasn't doing sacrifices, the Most High would release them. As soon as he released them, they'll go right back to the same stupid stuff and start looking for God's animals to kill, trying to atone for their sin when their conscience and their heart was never changing. And before you know it, God sent his enemies to burn the thing down, to plunder it again, and to carry the people away into captivity again, over and over and over again. And why is this important? This is important for this reason right here, that when you're dealing with animal sacrifice, okay, our people, we don't even look at animal sacrifice because we ain't sacrificing no animals. You see, we're not sacrificing the animals. Somebody else is. And if we're not sacrificing the animals, then that means that if we're not the ones doing the sacrificing the animals, that means that there is somebody else that's sacrificing the animals. But if they not sacrificing the animals to, if they have not been given permission like Moses did to sacrifice animals to the Most High, then they sacrifice the animals to the idol god. And we know that the idol god of this world in this world is money. Because on every single bill, he's saying, God we trust in this. This is the idol god. You see? Because of this God that people are worshiping, they become partakers of eating things that are sacrificed to idols. This is the idol that is sacrificed to. The animals are being killed and slaughtered and sent to what they call grocery stores for this idol god. And we serve this idol god of this world. Because we serve this idol god, we go to work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 80 hours every 2 weeks, and sometimes with overtime. We invest all of our time and all of our life's energy into serving this God. And when we get this God in our pocket, the most important thing that we serve this God for is the labor for our mouths and for our stomach and for our appetite. But the thing that we put in our mouth and in our appetite is an idolatry before the eyes of the Most High. And the people that have been responsible for teaching God's people God's word have not done us a service in so doing. They have more or less perpetuated our wickedness and our idolatry. They have perpetuated the evil of us committing a heinous act of sin against the Most High from one generation to the next generation. This is the idol God that a man spends most of his life serving. And then soon as he get it, his number one purpose for serving this God is so that he can buy God's creation. God's innocent creation that he blessed on the 6th day and told them to be fruitful and multiply. Because of our service of this idol God of this world, we have caused the children of the Most High, which are the animals, to not be able to fulfill the promise that he had commanded them to do in the garden. And whosoever shall cause one of these little ones to stone, it would be better if you tied a millstone around this neck and he was choked in the sea. You think that the Messiah was only talking about the little kids when he said, I tell you truly that these are your sisters and your brothers, because they were born out of the same womb of the earth on the 6th day when God created them. This is the idol God. Now, let's show you. Let's show you. These are not lessons so that people can like my channel so that they can like and subscribe. These are not messages so that I can gain popularity of people. These are messages that come directly from the Spirit of the Most High to affect change in the lives of his people so that we can live the abundant life that the Messiah promised us. Adam lived life abundantly. He had everything that he needed, did not want for anything. And that is the life that the Messiah came to bring back to us. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you some of the things that's coming.
Je suis Hélène de Fougerolles. Je vous parle au nom de l'association L214. Avez-vous déjà pensé à la provenance de la viande dans votre assiette? Avez-vous déjà visité un
All
abattoir?
praises to the Most High Heavenly Father.
Ces nouvelles images de L214, tournées sur une dizaine de jours, montrent le calvaire que vivent les chevaux, les moutons, les cochons, les veaux.
Oh, babies. All right. Here, Julie. It's all right. I'm right here. I love you. I love you so much. I love you. I love you so much. I love you. I love you. I love you. It's all right. It's all right.
You think this is what God intended when he blessed those animals and told them to be fruitful and multiply and said it was very good? You think this is what he had in mind? And I'm not harping on people because I myself, I have been guilty of these things throughout my whole life because I didn't know. These is animals that's on their way to the slaughterhouse. I want to see if we can find one in there. I want to show you what you're going to spend your money on. That's what I want to show you. Yep, that's what I want to show you. Why you going to spend your money? Why you going to spend your money on stuff? That God that you serving, the God of money, people running from the coronavirus don't understand that all the viruses come from animals. Those that eat animals gonna get viruses. You think this is what God had in mind? Do you think this what the Most High had in mind? I don't think so. Think this is what God had in mind when he told the animals to be fruitful and multiply? You think this is what God had in mind when he told Adam to care for the animals, to replenish the earth, to take care of them, to give them names, to comfort them, to nourish them? Do you think this is what God meant when he told Adam? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Do you think this is what the Most High had in mind when he told those animals on the sixth day? And God blessed the beasts and brought forth living creatures and beasts and fowls of the air, and blessed them and told them to multiply after their kind, after their own likeness. Do you think that this is what the Most High had in mind when he told them that? Oh my God, don't tell me that God's heart ain't bleeding. Don't tell me that his heart don't bleed when he see the things that he created being treated like this. You think this is what God had in mind? You think that what God had in mind? That all of those animals would end up on people's plates? That they will become delicacies, that they will become the all type of exotic foods? Do you think that that's what he had in mind when he created them? That's what I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. So when you start talking about animal sacrifice and things sacrificed to idols, everything that happens in those slaughterhouses, those people are wicked. They are the seed of Satan, trying to blockade and stop the purpose of the Most High that not only he gave to the animals by stopping them from being fruitful and multiply and filling the earth and praising God, but he is also trying to blockade and stamp out the purpose of mankind as man becomes a partaker in eating God's creation that this world is sacrificing to the idol god, money. Now, here's what I want to tell you. If you a person that's in church, you go and you challenge your pastor with a message like this, and you see what kind of excuse he can come up with. And if he come up with anything that don't line up with what God did on 6th day, you run the hell out of there. You go to your Sabbath class and you talk to your bishop or your moray and you challenge him with this video. And if he tell you anything that don't line up with what God done on the 6th day, then you run the hell out of there, because everybody that's standing there being guilty and partakers of this flesh and blood that God that's being sacrificed to these idols, listen, they are not serving the Father. And I don't believe that they're doing it intentionally. I think that they're doing it out of ignorance. But in this hour, there is a new wind of the Spirit, and there is new things that the Spirit is teaching us and exposing our minds to. There is a whole new level of righteousness and a whole new level of challenging that's going forth in the earth today to bring about the next generation of children that will not partake of flesh and blood. They will only eat the fruit of the trees and the grains of the earth and the herbs of the field. They will only do those things. And if they will not partake of flesh and blood, then guess what? Those that kill the animals will pay the price for it, as they are doing right now. You see, there are going to be some viruses that blow in that's going to kill millions of people. Millions. The Most High said, I'm jealous over my people that I love. He's jealous over the ones he loves. And the ones he loves is just not men. He loved everything that he created. He said, I'm jealous over those ones in the ocean that I told, let everything in the ocean praise me. If he say, let everything in the ocean praise him, that everything in the ocean hears his voice. Everything in the ocean has the intelligence to be able to comprehend the words of the Most High. Everything that's in the ocean, that fish that you think is just something that you eat, that fish has an intelligence to bring forth offspring, has an intelligence to know when this is mating season, has the intelligence to care for its offspring, to hide them, to protect them, to build safe zones for them. That fish has the intelligence to hear the voice of the Most High. You say, you know what? You think you're going to take these big ships and keep dragging the ocean and killing all of my creatures, stopping them from being able to obey my commandment? You see, wicked man is the only thing that's out of order. But when you look at what's at the root of why he's out of order, it's his appetite. Because there would be no big ships out there dragging all of the sea creatures out of the oceans if people didn't want to eat them. There would be no slaughterhouses. The slaughterhouses would have to close down if people didn't want to eat them. There would be no, look at all these look at all the restaurants in the world. When I went to Houston, Texas, I couldn't believe it. Every 20 minutes is another city, and every city has 1,000 restaurants. I could not believe it. And here's what you got to ask yourself a question. If one city like that could have that many restaurants to where they never run out of hamburger, they never run out of steak, they never run out of chicken, they never run out of what people call, they never run out of flesh and blood. And every last one of those restaurants is in the same condition in every city, in every state, in this country, and then abroad, and then you have grocery stores, Walmarts, and all these Aldis in every city, in every state, in the country. How many animals you think have to die to produce that much flesh and blood for people to eat? Oh, you're starting to get it now. Oh, you're starting to get it now. You're starting to see it for what it really is. How many animals do you think have to die in order to fill up every grocery store shelf, in order to fill up every restaurant? How many animals do you think have to die? And if you're a person that slaughters your own beasts, you will want to think about this. The righteous man cares for the Father's beasts, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. I don't care how tender and how merciful you're trying to be when it comes to slaughtering something that has life. It is a wicked act. The tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. You will want to be thinking about this stuff, because if it can't line up with what God did on day 6, and when he said it was very good, then guess what? Everything after day 6 and everything God said was good until evil entered in. And when Adam and Eve ate what they wasn't supposed to, evil came in. And everything after day 6 is evil. That's right. That's right. Everything after day 6 is evil. Exodus is evil. Numbers is evil. Deuteronomy is evil. Joshua is evil. All of these things are evil. 1 Samuel, evil. 2 Samuel, evil. 1 Chronicles, evil. 2 Chronicles, evil. All of it is evil. All of it is evil. Everything that's after Adam falling is evil. See? So, we're going to end the video right there. All praise to the Most High Heavenly Father, His glorious Son. And I'd like to say thank you to all the brothers and sisters for tuning in.